So yeah, I was the Edd coordinator from 1999 to I think around 2005. Then I became dean of the doctoral school. There's a fair number of people in the room that I interviewed. There's a fair number of people in the room whose work I've marked and whose I've run workshops for. So it's kind of quite a deep involvement, not only in the kind of oversight of the program and the development of it, but also the teaching of it. What Denise asked me to do was to say just a few words about the history of the Edd program, because we are celebrating this kind of 20 years span, and the kind of motivation for getting involved in providing a professional doctorate program. Now, David and Martin have said quite a lot about what professional doctorates are, so I'm going to scrub that bit out of my presentation. And move on quickly. Maria has said she's going to tell jokes, so I don't want to kind of hold... they better be good. Actually, no, I kind of mentioned them. We weren't the first professional doctorate. The Bristol University has the kind of honour of being the first, and that was offered in 1992. We were fortunate in being able to kind of learn from their experience. And we had Eric Hoyle, who was very much involved in the development of the Bristol Edd as our external examiner, and Kate Myers, who was a graduate from the Bristol Edd program, as our course leader when we first started this program. So we could build on what they'd achieved, and that has led to what I think is clearly the best Edd program anywhere, ever, right? So that's kind of, I'm absolutely kind of convinced. No doubt about that. I'm not going to produce any evidence for that statement whatsoever and undermine everything I'm going to say about bringing evidence, research, practice and professional development together. Anyway, we all understand that that's it. The motivation for doing this was a real deep commitment for bringing together really excellent research with excellent professional practice and getting a kind of synergy between those two things. And I think that's kind of evident that we kind of, that commitment is evident in being able to, achieve #1 ranking in the QS kind of league tables for education in 3 consecutive years, and also to get kind of grade 1 kind of for all our initial training programs. So we're great at kind of professional training and development. We're great at research. The Edd is a program where we can bring both those things together. And the demands that we're making of the people who do the program is that they make a contribution not just to kind of academic knowledge in the field, but also to the development of professional practice. So it's actually more difficult than doing a PhD. So when David says they're of a parity, I don't think they are. I actually think the Edd is more challenging. And I think the achievements of people here are kind of notable in that respect. And we also wanted to create a route way for people who were kind of practitioners at various stages in their career. So we've had some people quite early in their career, we've had a lot of people mid-career, we've had some people later in their career, and we've had some people in the zone that I'm now in, which is kind of outside the career and looking for kind of, what's going to happen in this kind of third age. So it was to create routeways for different kinds of people at different stages in their professional careers to actually get involved in doing, as David has said, really high quality research and relating that to the development and transformation of practice. I think what it really achieved that's really notable is that it doesn't just transform practice, it transforms the person. And again, David has kind of pointed to the kind of, it's not the thesis that's the product, it's the person from a doctoral program. And I think that's, what the Edd program really does achieve is the kind of people get more confident about what they do. They look at their practice in a different kind of way. They relate to their colleagues in different types of ways. Their aspirations change and their perspectives change. It's a transformational experience. One of the things that we did when we reviewed the program in 1999, so the program started in 1996. John Ogborn was the Edd coordinator, and Kate was the course leader. So it was a kind of division of labour. They did that until 1997. Then Ingrid Lunt became the Edd coordinator, and the course leader was Elizabeth Leo. And that kind of ran through to about 1999. And in 1999, we had the opportunity to bring all the doctoral programs in the Institute together under the umbrella of the doctoral school. Now, Martin said that UCL had a doctoral school, we had a doctoral school, and so we had to change what we called ours. We made up the name doctoral school. Jane Hurry, Ingrid Lunt, and I sat in Ingrid's room in 1999, and we thought we're going to make this umbrella kind of organisation, we're going to bring all our doctoral stuff together. We could call it a graduate school, but actually all our programs are graduate, so we had to make up a name, and we kind of thought, what could we call it? Doctoral school. Sounds a bit weird, but let's just go with it. And we did, and now everybody's got them. Well, we should have kind of trademarked that in some kind of way. At that point in time, Elizabeth Leo had left. Ingrid was now kind of charged with looking after all doctoral programs, and we had to find somebody to lead the Edd. Now, as you know, all posts at the Institute, it's a rigorous selection process, and absolutely the right person is selected for this job. And so I'll just give you some insight into the rigor of those processes. Ingrid got Jane and I together. We were the two coordinators of research training for doctoral programs, and she said, one of you is going to have to become the coordinator of the PhD training program, and the other of you is going to have to lead the Edd. And I want you to go away for about half an hour and come back and tell me who's doing what job. And so Jane and I went down to Students' Union when you could smoke and when Jane smoked, but I didn't smoke, yet she did. And she sat and had a cigarette, and we just thought, what she said was, well, you've been a teacher, why don't you do the Edd? And I thought, well, fair enough, why not? So that was it. So that was the kind of rigorous selection process. When I told people that I'd become the Edd coordinator, what they said is, your career is finished. This program is going nowhere, right? 1996, 1999, there hadn't been a single graduate from the program. Ingrid had kind of put a review in place and had kind of come up with a number of recommendations for ways in which we could improve the program, enable a kind of a smoother ride through. The program was a bit weird in the first kind of stages because we'd had to wrestle with the University of London, who awarded the degree, to get them to understand how an Edd, a professional doctorate program worked. So David can talk with confidence about what a professional doctorate is. At that time, the University of London didn't have a clue what a professional doctorate was and thought what we were doing was quite peculiar. They didn't like the idea that there was so much coursework and there were courses. What they really didn't like was that there were assessments within the program that weren't all at doctoral level. So one of the things they demanded was that if you did an essay in the first term of your program and it was assessed, if it's to pass, it must meet the criteria for a doctorate. That is kind of bizarre. So you've just started the course, and you write your essay, and you get this, and you pass it, so why don't you just give you the doctorate straight away? Because you're clearly operating at doctoral level. So we had to kind of jump through all sorts of loops to kind of, to say, well, how does this work? And that's why we introduced a portfolio. We said, these are bits of work that you produce, and we grade them in a way that's appropriate to the stage in the program, and then we put them in a portfolio, and then we judge the portfolio at doctoral level, and that's a kind of waypoint towards something else. And we had to kind of develop a narrative around these kind of steps through the program. And we were supposed to do this with King's and Goldsmiths, so we had a kind of joint committee that was set up. King's ran a kind of half-hearted, I'll edit that out, kind of Edd program for a few years and then dropped it, and Goldsmiths didn't ever pick up the idea of doing an Edd. So we were really kind of on our own here. The review in 1999 was pretty substantial, and it was my job to kind of put an action plan together and to implement that. And I think that what we've got from that kind of process is a really strong foundation for the program that the Edd has become now. Just want to give you just an aside to the appointment process, just a bit of career advice. I have never got a job. Well, I've only failed to get one job I ever applied for, and I was the only candidate for that job. But I have never got a job where there has been more than 2 candidates. So kind of one of the kind of things I learned from that experience of the kind of taking on the Edd, the career-ending kind of moment, is that if you go for the stuff that nobody else wants to do and make a success out of it, that's a really great way to kind of move forward. So that's kind of, I've worked that template kind of ever since, and actually ended up as the interim director of the Institute, so that can't be bad. We introduced new programs, the International Edd, the Dual Edd with NIE in Singapore. The International Edd enabled people to do this kind of work at a distance. I don't know if anybody did that kind of version of the program, but we started to run modules as kind of intensive 1-week programs. And I think what that kind of demonstrated to us just the value of bringing a diverse group of people together and for them to work together and gain something from each other's experience. So I kind of think one of the great things about the Edd is the cohort and the intensity of working together and the kind of appreciation that people develop of the life worlds and professional worlds of other people in the group and the insights that that brings. And I kind of hope that people really feel that they've gained that. So you can see this stuff when you look through the statements. So one of the things we introduced was the idea of a kind of a 2,000-word statements that you put with your portfolio and also with the thesis. Eileen Carnell and I did a little piece of research where we did a survey amongst participants in the program, but also analysed those statements and looked at what kinds of things did people value from the program. And it was to do with that kind of working together, being part of a cohort. It was the challenge of the stuff. So all these statements say it was really difficult. It was really tough. There were difficult ideas. They helped me to see things in a different kind of way. It was about the impact of the work on their professional practice and on their colleagues. They're great things to read. If you ever get the chance to look at other people's statements, they're really, really good. I examined an Edd yesterday, actually. I'm in difficulty with time at the moment. Yesterday it was somebody who'd done the dual Edd program with NIE, and she wrote just an amazing reflective statement. And what that kind of indicated to me was it kind of exemplified all those things that we really, really value in the program, that the program is in really good shape at the moment. We've built on what we've done in the past. As I think Martin said, Denise is doing great things now in developing the program. David has indicated that within UCL, we've got a really exciting context to take the program even further. UCL is great at interdisciplinary work. The grand challenges provide great opportunities for people to work on problems that can't be addressed from within a single discipline. The connected curriculum, which is UCL's kind of initiative to embed research in education at all levels, provides a fantastic opportunity for the kind of spirit of the Edd to be reflected in programs at other levels, including undergraduate programs. So I think we're kind of, the program's in good shape. We've got fantastic graduates. I've worked with amazing colleagues in providing the program. I've had an absolutely fantastic experience working with you. The bits I really enjoyed were the Saturday morning thesis kind of workshop type things where people gave up valuable time to come in and work together, and they were really good, and I gained a lot from it. And I think that's the kind of real crux of this program. We talk a lot about the benefits of research for practice and professional development, but actually we're gaining so much by working with you and you bringing your professional practice into the Institute. And I think that's something that we've really got to keep a grip on, is that there's a mutual benefit to this, and we've got to keep making sure that we kind of cash that in. So, better let Maria come on and tell some jokes, do some juggling, eat fire and stuff like that. But I want to say to close is it's a real relief and pleasure for me that there are actually now some graduates from this program. So it hasn't been a career-ending experience. So thank you for coming along tonight, and thank you for graduating if you have. It's great. It's made my career. Thanks.